Hello and welcome to Ways to Change the World. I'm Krishnan guru-murthy, and this is the podcast in which we talk to extraordinary people about the big ideas in their lives and the events that have helped shape them. My guest this week has been one of the most popular people in British sport and entertainment over decades. He's one of the biggest public figures, I think, for people of my generation through the 90s and 2000s. He was part of public life, part of daily life, on the news a lot. He's now the subject, together with his arch rival, of a brilliant new Kevin McDonald documentary, Bruno v. Tyson. Frank Bruno, welcome.
Thank you very much, Chris. Very, very much, sir. Thank you.
It's great to see you looking so well and so fit.
Yeah, I was up at 4 o'clock this morning, training a little bit more harder for you so I could look half decent.
I mean, obviously, it's a pretty grim time, for all of us through coronavirus and lockdown. How has your lockdown been? Have you been basically confined to home?
Yeah, we're stuck at home, but I've got some things: a gym, running machine, rowing machine, steamer, sauna, and so I can make it as a health farm. So I'm in good. Every day just try and keep fit and looking after yourself. But it's not nice at all. Every time you turn on the news, it's very, very horrible time. My deepest sympathy goes out to anybody who's lost a loved one.
And have you been affected at all? I mean, do you know people who've had the virus?
Yeah, I do know. My granddaughter's had it kind of mild. My daughter had it kind of mild, you know what I mean? But I think the doctors are on the case and the government are on the case and the vaccine and all them different things you've got to take and hopefully, hopefully, hopefully cleared by the summer. But I don't really know. I'm not a doctor, so I can't really tell.
Are you looking forward to getting the vaccine yourself?
Yeah, I am. I just want to see what the side effects. Every sort of medicine or drug they give you is a side effect. So I just want to see what the side effects are for the people before I jump in.
The government and chief medical officers and everyone have been saying, we really want as many people to come forward and say, don't worry about the vaccine, you must have it. You're sounding a little worried yourself.
I'm a little bit worried because everybody's jumping into it, but I'm just being a little bit cautious. My name's on the list, but I will take it if I don't hear no side effects.
Have you spoken to your doctor about it? As he said, you must go and get the vaccine whenever it comes? Or
said that he's going to get the vaccine. One of the lady nurses or doctors said they're going to get the vaccine. So I'm not in a rush. I'm in good health at the moment. So I'm just standing on the fence and seeing what's happening. And it's not nice hearing it.
The documentary, the film, is a gripping watch, and it's a gripping watch not for people who are particularly boxing fans. It's a film about people and athletes and the pressures on life and being in the public eye and family and all those things. It's a really interesting watch, I think. When you watched it back, what do you think?
I think the guys done a good job. They're very young, very positive, and very constructive guys. They had a plan to put things together. I didn't know how they were going to put it together, but we had some footage from the kids when they were young and Franklin when he was born, and they put it together very well. I was surprised. I watched the documentary. It's wow. Sometimes you look with tear in your eye. You know what I mean? But it was in an era when boxing was really, really tough. And a lot of tough cookies in the game.
Obviously, it frames the story around you and Mike Tyson, and makes him, almost the biggest figure in your life, in your professional life.
He was
and
the
it gives
biggest
him.
figure.
He was.
He was. Yeah. He was 21, 20. I met him when he was 15. He was my sparring partner, and he's done very, very well for himself. He's a very good guy. He's very vicious and nasty when you go in the ring, but that is boxing, like cricket.
I mean, in terms of your backgrounds, you both came from pretty difficult backgrounds, childhoods that were not easy.
I didn't come from a difficult childhood. I was 6 of us in the family, 3 sisters and 2 brothers I got. I was the youngest, but I was spoiled. I was looked after, but I got sent to a ball school because I used to love fighting. I like Bruce Lee. I like karate and different things like that. So I was always a fighter, getting myself into trouble. I haven't got a criminal record. I've been taught the right sort of way. my parents brought me up with good stock, you know. And
Was that down to you then that you were in trouble and that you were on
yeah,
that
all
road to
down to
trouble?
me, all down to me. My mum was a Christian and my dad was a character that he didn't play cricket, but he didn't mess around. He's a very serious man. He only said one word when I was young, and if I was naughty, he would give me a beating, which I, you know, he put me in my place and taught me manners, mum and dad.
And who introduced you to boxing?
My dad introduced me to boxing because, as he said, when I was 8, I was very big for my age and running around the streets, getting myself expelled from the primary school. Nothing what I'm proud of, but it did happen that way. And the only way I could get out of my way of fighting and get myself into trouble is to take up boxing and go to the ball school.
I mean, why do you think boxing? Because we still, we still do pieces on the news about how boxing is still a way out of trouble for a lot of young men.
It is. It is. You don't realise how much money is to be made out of it. In football, there's 12 men. There's a lot of money to be made. Rugby, but boxing, that I don't know what they say about boxing, but boxing is one of the special things because it's a very, very hard game. The nerves, you got to get super fit. You're in your cool in your dressing room, and you're wondering what the hell am I doing? You know what I mean? Because it's a nerve-wracking thing going under the ring. But as soon as someone taps you in your face, you start going. It's more toe to toe.
I mean, if you went to Borstal, because you were getting into trouble, was it Borstal that sort of changed you? I mean, because your public persona has always been this super polite, charming, respectful guy. Was it that experience that changed you, or was it something else?
I went to the ball school and I didn't know I was dyslexic, so I didn't know what job I'm going to go for. And the best thing I could go for is doing some sort of sports. And rugby, you got to be too brave to go on the rugby pitch. I was too clumsy to play football, so I wanted to do boxing. Was I used to train nearly every day at school and work in the gardens, doing tough jobs and trying to strengthen myself up. When I leave school, I'll try a little few jobs here and there, but boxing was my main aim. Very, very on straight and narrow. Didn't want nothing else apart from boxing.
What did you think boxing was going to give you?
Made me very rich, made me very, very famous. Sometimes kids and own-ups have dreams, and my dreams were done. And I met so many people, I've done so many different things. I forgot half of the things what I've done. But if you're a little bit of a character, people that ask you to come on their show and do bits and pieces here and there. But if you watch the documentary, it goes back 25, borderline 30 years ago. And it seemed like yesterday. But Mike Tyson at the time, he was postponed so many different times. But he was Mike Tyson. He was a draw, bringing in the money. The fight was supposed to be at Wembley. Then the promoters got a briefcase full of money and they switched it to Las Vegas. But 1 minute he was going to commit suicide. 1 minute he's crashing his car into the tree. So he had a lot of drama in his life, but it didn't help me. The fight being postponed about 7 times, but hey, eventually got it on.
How did you feel about him at that time? I mean, was he somebody you respected? Was it somebody whose problems you understood, or was he the enemy?
I don't think he was the enemy, but he weren't my best pal. If you go in the boxing room, you're not playing tennis or darts or anything like that. People are going to hit you to do some damage to you. That's why we go to training camp. That's why we study our opponent, his moves, his weaknesses, and whatever. But that's boxing. Very tough game.
So would you say you disliked him? I mean, did you hate him or anything like that? Or
Hate is a very powerful word. I don't hate nobody, not even anybody that's beat me up or done anything to me. Hate is a powerful word. I disliked him because he's my opponent. But after the fight, you know what I mean? Shake hands and go about your business.
I mean, you were, as I said in the introduction, you were incredibly popular. You were loved by a lot of
Oh,
people
boy,
in this
seriously,
country.
that's a pressure. Yeah,
Um,
thank you. You're making me blush.
but I mean, I just wondered, sort of, is that something that just happens, or is it something that you think about and you cultivate?
You can't cultivate, you know what I mean? Listen, there's some people I've got stick off people being popular or whatever. Some may call it jealousy, but some may call it whatever. But I don't know. All I knew, I had a good trainer in Life Trainer as well, and Terry Lawless. And in these days, he taught you how to, you got to conduct yourself in the right sort of like way, be not too stuck up or just be yourself. But you can't just sit down and you got to be tell a few jokes here and there and have a laugh, because sometimes people take it too seriously. But I listened to what you're laughing. I listened to what he said, and he gave me a lot of good vibes. It's like your granddad will give you good vibes, your grandma will give you good vibes, your parents will give you good vibes. It's up to you to take it, put it into your armory.
I mean, you played it very well, though. I mean, going on all those entertainment shows and chat shows, and I remember at the time. I mean, I was working in TV at the time at the beginning of my career, and kind of thinking, wow, he's really kind of playing this for everything it's worth and building his brand and everything.
I weren't playing nothing at all. It's a serious world, so boxing is not a game that you will play. But if your manager says to you that there's going to be life after boxing, so you've got to prepare yourself to do a little bit of golf, go on a little bit of celebrities here and there, do a little bit of pantomime. I got stick for doing pantomime. Even in the documentary, they showed me dressed up as a woman, man. It was so embarrassing. It was, I could go, I was sinking in the chair watching it. I thought they got rid of that one. But that's the things I had to do to plant the seed to when I finished with boxing, I could still duck and dive. And that if someone puts it on the table to you, you can either be ignorant and move it away, or strive and be hungry. And if a sensible man is telling you what to do, you take what he says and go forth.
What about the fighting itself in those days? I mean, because you were, you were just an incredibly powerful puncher, and were you aware of hurting people at the time as a fighter? How did you feel about
I was aware that if I go, I would rather get somebody or score points against somebody rather than scoring points against me. When you go into the boxing ring, it's a temple. It's a very, very serious game, and you have to be on your ball. You know what I mean? Because a lot of tragedies has happened in boxing. People say it's a barbaric sport or whatever, but it's saved a lot of people, and still one of the most powerful watched sports there is. There isn't, your trainer, your manager, and all that. When you get into the ring and the referee come together, touch gloves, and go back, the trainer, the manager go out of the ring. You stay in the ring. Ding ding, round one goes, and whatever you do, you got to go in there and do what you have to do.
I mean, I suppose fear is the wrong word, but I mean, do you have any fear for your own safety in that situation?
Yeah, I do have fears every time. Every boxer was in the dressing room do have some butterflies and the nerves kicking in, half sweating. You know what I mean? Wondering what the hell am I doing in this? What am I doing? Because it's a nerve-wracking nerves. That is proper nerves. You know what I mean? Say if there's 5,000 people there, 1,000 people there, the atmosphere, them shouting and whatever. And in the olden days, they used to smoke in the arena. And this was the, you know what I mean? Tatty old gyms used to go in, but it's a serious game, boxing. You know what I mean? Not too many people can take to boxing because now how hard it is when you're in the ring for 3 minutes and 1 minute rest, and you got somebody coming at you wants to knock your head off. You got to be on point.
And the issue is always going to be, how long you do it for. If you went into boxing to have fame and fortune and financial security and to have a good life, at what point, you'd achieved that by the 90s. So why do you keep going?
I won the world championship and I've got a detached retina and I had to retire. Not that I wanted to retire, I had to retire. But it weren't saying I was staying in the boxing too long. If I did stay in the boxing as late as I did, I wouldn't have got the opportunity to fight for the world championship. So it has its minuses and its plus.
There's a little bit of the documentary where you're filming your daughter before you leave for the fight. And you ask her, you're going to miss Daddy? And she instantly starts crying and she doesn't want you to go. And it's a really good moment because it gives you that glimpse of the pressure that boxers put their families under, because she's only a little girl.
I mean to put the pressure on it, but I'm I'm the grafter. You've got businessmen traveling the world or whatever. You've got to do what you've. My kids went to private schools, you know, and it costs £1 million each for them to go to the private school. That is just to pay for the fees. There weren't uniforms or nothing like that. So at least I tried. You know what I mean? I wanted to put for them to have a good life or whatever. So I didn't go to stay on to boxing too long. I think it was just right with time to retire.
Now, what happened after you retired was we suddenly became aware, the public, of what was really going on in your life, which was depression.
I think I got
And
divorced. I was going through a divorce at the time, and it weren't very nice. Anybody going through a divorce would understand certain different things. I was away from home quite a lot, so when I came home to settle down, it just got a little bit fuzzy. I'm not slagging down nobody. It wasn't nobody's blame, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. So I went through a divorce and I had a breakdown.
so, was that the time when you know, anxiety or depression or mental illness suddenly appeared in your life, or had it been something you'd always had in your life?
I always had it in my life. When I got young, at 12-ish, I went to a ball school. A van, blue van, big van, took about 30 to 40 boys to Sussex, away from London. And yes, it was different, but it was some. I thought I was tough. There was much more tougher kids. Most of the kids at the bus were tougher than me. But I had to go there and find my way and fight your way through to people to keep you away from you, nicking your sweets and all them different things. But it was a good educational about life and yes, firm and be positive in life because to survive in a bull stool and come out, you know what I mean? It's not an easy place, a bull stool.
So, do you think your mental health had been sort of ignored while you were fighting? Had you been looking after yourself?
No, it weren't ignored. I would look after myself all the time, but sometimes that's why you have accountants, that's why you have agents, that's why you have people to take the pressure off you. I didn't take no pressure. I was driving myself to jobs. I was doing so many, burning myself out and having a divorce on top of you that was not very good for your health. What you go through tension and lawyers and changing exchange and whatever. But it's all gone, so I'm very happy now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's great. But I mean, when you look back, do you think it could have been avoided if you had, I don't know, had therapy or, had a different kind of approach? Do you think you could have avoided having a breakdown?
Um, I could have avoided having a breakdown, but I was on my journey of fulfilling my dream. So I didn't really have time. I had the time, but I was so focused. It's similar like your job. You cannot make too many mistakes when you're in your job. And you've been going for years and you're a professional. But for you to get a professional, you've got to learn and teach and look at different other people that's doing your job and put that into your armory. That's what our boxing is. You train and practice, watch videos of your opponents and try. In my time of boxing, there was a very tough time. There was some serious dudes out there that you have to either fight or swerve them, you know. But I didn't swerve nobody. I fought Tim Witherspoon, Baumgartner Smith, Lennox Lewis, and I fought Mike Tyson twice. And them guys beat me, and they're world champions. So I haven't got a bad record.
Obviously, at the time, I mean, going through something like, being sectioned under the Mental Health Act must be incredibly distressing. But do you look back on that, with a certain amount of gratitude that the people in your life took control and said, this needs to be done?
I aim to differ. You know what I mean? I know if it would fall, if the shoe was on the other foot, I wouldn't allow my kids to go into a mental institute. I wouldn't allow them to go in there.
Why'd you say that?
I wouldn't allow them to go in there. I wouldn't allow them because, you know what I mean? It's a bad experience in them places. They give you this, that, the devil knows what. Whatever they give you is a side effects and they give you something else for the side effects. How can you take 25 tablets in one session and then take another 25 tablets to be off the side effects? I'm not a doctor, but I got a doctorate from Bournemouth with mental health. They gave me many times they took me in and they give you the depot and whatever. The side effects of it, you can't even feel your legs. If you sit down, you cramp up and all them different things. I'm not gonna fly the flag for mental health because they treat me very bad. And I don't like, if they treat me that way, how do you think they treat the other people, which I've seen?
That's really interesting. And did that carry on? Because I mean, you were obviously taken into hospital more than once, and was that your whole experience? You'd never had a good experience with it.
Not one little bit, and I ain't got one good word to say. There's been some nice doctors in the NHS that they do a good job, but the people what get the power and whatever want to give you certain tablets to give you a scar and break your ribs and all that different things that they don't see. But I will speak up for people with mental health, mong people out, very very crazy.
So how did you get better?
I'm a very determined guy. I try and work myself, build myself out. When I was first, about 25 years ago, they started giving me the depot. I just couldn't move. I couldn't motivate myself. I was dribbling and I had to get myself together. So I stopped them coming to give me the medication, didn't answer the bell, and I had to get myself together. I had a big house of 75 acres. I had to get rid of that and sort of like move down to Champneys in Tring for about 7 years, and I moved to Leighton Buzzard. So I'm quite happy.
Because after you've said all that, I now start to understand a little bit more about why you were saying you're worried about the side effects of the coronavirus vaccine.
Thank you. I'm not being ignorant, and I should be taking it with hands open, but I've got to see what the side effects are because I've heard people say this, take this dosage or give that. I don't like needles, and I'd rather go in with 10 Mike Tyson than take 10 needles in my arm. So I'm a bit worried, but I can't just jump into something what I don't really know.
How would you feel about your children going into boxing?
I would tell them they've got to think twice because it's not an easy game to do. It's one of the most difficult things to do. It's a sport where you've got to run in the morning, come back. Either you've got a job, you've got to go to your job, or you go to the gym in the afternoon. It's not a sport. My kid has tried it, but the best one out of all my kids is Rachel. She can punch, and she's got rhythm when she boxes. She would make a good boxer. Franklin has got powerful as well, but I'm glad they give that a swerve because you got to be hungry, you got to be starving, and you got to have that little bit of a snap and a killer instinct in you if you're going to go into boxing because it's not a fun game.
So, do you think you have to be in a difficult place to be a good boxer? You can't be a sort of a privileged middle class kid and be a successful boxer.
I don't think you'll find too many. They do the training and they do very, very well, but I don't think you get the OKR boys doing in boxing. No OKR boys in boxing. Boxing is a very, very, you ask anybody for 3 rounds, 2-minute rounds, 12 rounds from a world championship. Years ago, it was 15 rounds. You had to do 3 minutes and 1 minute rest. So it's a very, very tough sport. You should try it. To look at white collar boxing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, my son has done a little bit, but I mean, it scares me, I have to say, as a father.
If I'm doing no harm, it's good for to teach him a little bit of confidence.
Yeah. Can I ask you? I mean, how have you felt over the last year watching the Black Lives Matter movement? When you saw what happened to George Floyd in America last year, the man who was killed, and all the reaction of that, how did you feel? Did you feel affected by that?
I feel affected in a different way because sometimes you hear all different things that the police do. You can't always pick on somebody that this one, that. But America, you can't keep on getting the same old thing that they shot someone and killed somebody or done whatever. It seems like there's more racism in America. Years ago, when I went over there to fight Tyson for the first time, I went to Arizona, and they meant to be some redneck people over there, but you know what I mean? I just thought, are you a redneck or whatever? Yeah, I am a redneck boy. You know what I mean? They talk very funny, but it's about time we all need to bang our heads together as human beings and stop playing these stupid games of talking about somebody is a this, that, the devil knows what, that is that, and so much put the energy into something good than to worry about what race somebody is. Whether they're Indian, whether they're Turkish, whether they're Italian, whether they're Scottish, whether they're Welsh, whether they're English, what right has somebody got to dictate going to someone's country, bomb them up, cause all sorts of like different things, and have people having that on their plate. You know, anybody that you kill, anybody that you go into war, there's the repercussions of what you're doing. Does everybody in the world is that wicked that they want to keep killing people? You really want to have war all the time? I can't look at the news because it's very depressing. If it ain't illness in the virus, if someone's going to bomb up some other country, or there's people want to cause havoc. Ain't people got grandchildren and you got kids, or don't you think of the future? That they're intelligent people out there. I asked a very powerful man in the army. He goes, peace don't pay, war does.
Did you feel that during the course of your career that you were, that you were targeted, by racism? Did you suffer racism?
They threatened me. They threatened me. They threatened my mum that they were going to do this, the devil knows what. I got threatened by the apartheid people chucking paint on my car and said if I fight a South African, they're going to kill me or do some stupid thing that what they were going to do, try and do. But you got some crazy people. You got some beautiful people out there, very sensible and talk very, very constructive and keep it on the straight and narrow. But you got some people who are like Satan. They really are, and all they want to do is cause commotion and just make people's life not to, you have to show some love and peace and some respect. You got kids, you want to have your grandchildren brought up, but you want to have your grandchildren brought up in this funny world. What's going on?
There's one sort of upsetting bit of the film for me, where you are insults are hurled at you, which I think are among the worst insults you can ever hurl at a black person, of being a sellout, and they use the word Uncle Tom. How do you feel about that? I mean, you could see the upset.
Sometimes you want to cry, My grandma was a slave. She came from Jamaica. Lennox Lewis's mum or grandparents must have been in that 500 years ago. When you hear all that, it makes me not. You feel sorry for some people. Just because someone's more popular than you, you don't have to stoop that low to call somebody Uncle Tom. When you've got a grandma, as I repeat myself, used to be a slave about 100 years ago, and slavery was going on for 500 years. How can another man like that stoop that low to call someone Uncle Tom? Do you think that's a wise move? And I represent Britain. I was born in Britain. I feel proud to call myself British. I'm not English, I'm British. My parents came over here. My mum was a nurse, and my dad worked in the factory when they needed work. But another guy coming to call another one Uncle Tom, I think that's funny. And he's in and out of the country, doing his own thing and taking the mickey. But take it on my chin, because my mum always said they're jealous of you. That's why they're calling you that, to make it get to you. But that is so below the belt. It's untrue. But I helped pave the way for a lot of people out there. Black people. Take rubbish at people at you. But there's not all bad white, and there's not all bad black people. It's just certain different people make it difficult for other people that mess up the world with confusion. Just because you're Asian, people think you that because you're black, they think just because you're white or whatever. What right have we got to dictate what he says about someone, or call someone the N-word? But the music people don't make it more better for people, because they're just saying the N-word all the time. So I don't know when it's going to stop all this confusion.
There was a brief rumour some years ago that you were thinking about politics. Was that ever true?
Nah, the tickets weren't selling in the pantomime, so they said, don't be a plank, vote for Frank. And they started that out, and amazing how people just jump on it about getting involved in politics. Why do I need to get involved in politics when boxing was so hard? Why would I need to get involved in boxing when that's going to be hard, when I can't even read and write properly? To be a politician, you've got to learn that to hibbery-jibbery. And if somebody asks you something, and change it around. So you've got to be, but seriously, to be somebody in politics, you've got to be a smart cookie And if somebody think ahead and just twist them up in knots sometimes, they're so clever. But I'm not that clever, but I can't get involved in politics.
I think a lot of people would dispute whether you're clever enough to be in politics or not. I think a lot of people would say you are. If you could change the world anyway, what would you do?
I would start with the youngsters at first. You know what I mean? I would get, like, I'm doing the Frank Bruno Foundation and I'm doing a gym. But most of the people around Northampton, they're very, very nice people, but you've got one and two bad boys. I'm going to take them with the army up in the hills to spend for a week of camping and try and get these tough boys off the street and do what they've got to do. I would, races, that's the most powerful thing I would do. I would try and sort that out. We haven't got no writing to say this one's that, the devil knows what, or cut that out, or put them big fine, or put them in jail. You know what I mean? But you just need a little bit of heart, love, and respect and understanding. You know what I mean? For your neighbours or for your friend, or if you meet somebody, have some manners, man, and say good morning. How are you today? Some people might look at you mad, but drop it differently. You know, it's so simple that all we're worried about is how we're going to bomb this, how we're going to kill that. Put away that for the time being and try and show some love and respect. Simple. Good morning. How are you? How you feeling today? How about your business? Not to rob anybody, not to harm anybody. If you break into somebody's house, how would you like someone broke into your house? If you pick someone's pocket, how would you like someone pick your mum's pocket? If someone called you a name, how would you like if someone called you a name? It all hurts. Your emotion gets drawn up, and if you cut up somebody in the road, it starts your day off very, very bad. They're saying Black Lives Matter. They should have done that about 20, 50 years ago. But it's nice that they're aware of what's happening. I've got grandchildren, and I dread to think what world they're going to be brought up with. The government have got to put some strict things. They've got to make prisons like the worst place they've ever gone in, that they scare them. They don't want to do no bad things, you know what I mean? And be aware. Make prisoners more harder. You don't see them easy in Russia. You don't see them easy in America. They're tough places.
Frank, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. You look after yourself, yeah?
Telling us all about that and sharing your ways to change the world.